Hello, Dr. Shaw here, and welcome to another episode of Teaching Humanity Remotely. Today I want to talk about the need to be consistent and clear and remembering your aim, because sometimes when we're teaching children, for example, it seems like we're just going over the same thing and it's dragging and we're tired. I mean, come on, how else can I say that A is for apron? Or apple, or, whatever the case may be. I'm overdoing it, of course. But it just seems like so often it's repeat to the point where it's ad nauseum. And yet, all of a sudden, all good teachers will tell you at a certain time of year, the light bulb comes on and it's as if they were really listening to everything you said. They really are getting it. And so I just want to speak to that a little bit today and say that it's the exact same for adults. So the other day, I was being the passenger in the car, and my friend texted me something that I have said to this friend so many times before. And she so cutely, we're not young anymore, she so cutely said, "I feel like my brain just woke up." And that's exactly the way it is for children when they learn something new. And I loved that. And I thought, I'm going to go home. I'm going to do a podcast on this because I've said this before, and it's humbling and it's raw and it's authentic and it's tender to know that when it comes to learning, it's always kind of the same for all of us, no matter what age we are. It's that kind of like, I don't know something, I'm interested, I'm not interested, I'm struggling, it's easy. All of those different ways that we are in that process of learning something new until we really get it. And then it's like, wow, And so I wanted to speak to the fact that what do you do before the light bulb goes on? That's really what the podcast is about. And here's what I want to say to that. And I think it's critically important as a teacher. And I also think it's important as a parent. When we're trying to teach something new, we need to hold two things simultaneously. We need to hold the space of what is the aim, what's the objective, be really clear, keep it simple. What's the aim of the new skill, the new item of knowledge that I want to teach and instruct on? That's very important, while ensuring I am not creating confusion. So there was training when I was a younger teacher. I got trained in reading recovery, and it was amazing because that training is really intensive. And what happens during that training is that you teach a child behind a glass where all teachers can see you teaching. And so you're really exposed. There's absolutely no hiding. And part of the lesson, it's a 30-minute lesson to teach children who are learning how to read to become fluent readers. And it lasts for 20 weeks. And part of the lesson is called making and breaking, where you put words together. And there was a teacher during her making and breaking that put these three words: it, is, and in. And it was so confusing because the I sounds different in it than it does in is. And in it was just like a really confusing lesson. When I did my making and breaking, it was always about taking a chunk of a word, like the at family, and then put like cat, mat, bat, right? Or, if there was a word that I wanted them to see, the chunk was in the middle, like shouted, so how do you spell out? What two letters go sh, and then it's past tense ed. Trying to make it where you're taking apart a word, you're taking it apart so that you can understand how the word actually works. But is it at the same time as in, at the same time as is, was so confusing. And it was really a very horrible lesson. But the gift that I got seeing the teacher behind the glass was it taught me how easy it is to confuse children. And I remember, I've told you this story before, but I remember saying to my class, boys and girls, readers bring what's in their head to the page. And they all looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. And I said to them, I said, I can tell that you don't know what I mean because you're all looking at me with such a lack of understanding. And that's really my fault. That's on me. So I'm going to show you what I mean. And then I brought in a wordless book and we put the words to the pictures, and, it was very easily understood. So my point is, when you're trying to teach your child a new skill at home, or in the classroom, make sure, hold that space of remembering the goal while you're ensuring you're not teaching confusions. Sometimes I would receive children who are in a different kindergarten class to come into my first grade. And let's say we in kindergarten discuss periods, which are really at the end of a telling sentence. If a child would come to me from another class and after every word they would write a period, what I would know is that a teacher said something about periods to them, but didn't really explain that it's at the end of a complete thought, a telling thought, as opposed to a questioning thought that would be a question mark. And I would see by them using the period, a child using the period after every single word, I would see exactly what the confusion was that teacher was communicating to these children. So my point is to remember that when we learn something, it does feel like the light is going off, just the way it feels for the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 10-year-old, doesn't matter, or the 60-year-old. As my friend said, I feel like my brain woke up. I mean, that's really just what it feels like. That's what it means. So now I'm saying what it feels like. I'm showing you what it means. I'm giving you very clear direction here. And just make sure that when you are discussing things with your children, make sure that you're not aiding or adding to any confusion. So you can check for understanding by saying to your child, do you understand? Often children will say they understand when they don't understand, so you have to know that if your child does that or not. If your child says yes, but you know it's no, then you can say, what is it? What do you understand? Tell me what you understand. And if you see that your child's getting like a little teary or feeling like a little caught and uncomfortable because, again, they for some reason have shame before they should, right? Because they haven't learned yet that the mistake is a learning lesson, you can say, oh, do you want me to tell you again? And if you say it again and they still don't really get it, just say it in a different way. So checking for understanding along the way and never making the assumption because you understand what you're saying that they understand what they're saying. So just remember that feeling of the light bulb going off, seeing it in them and also in you as you continue to learn new things. And I know that this is going to help you. So please, until next time, please enjoy those light bulb moments that are thrilling for all of us, no matter when they come or how old we are. And also feel free to visit me at my authors page on Amazon, Dr. Mindy Shaw Paperbacks. Until next time, be well.